The headline sent shockwaves through the defense world. Canada had finally made its choice. After years of delays, debates, political maneuvering, Ottawa had seemingly picked its next-generation fighter jet. And it wasn't the American F-35. Canada had chosen the Saab Gripen E, the Swedish jet. America feared most. This was a stunning development. It could reshape North American air defense and challenge the dominance of the F-35 program. A key NATO ally, a partner in NORAD, was turning its back on the premier American fighter for a European alternative. The implications were immense. Alliances, interoperability, the future of air power on the continent. A major victory for Saab, a significant blow to Lockheed Martin. For years, the F-35 was billed as the undisputed future of Allied air forces, a fifth-generation marvel, designed for total battlefield awareness and survivability. The Gripen is a different kind of fighter, nimble, affordable, easier to maintain. For Canada to select Gripen would say the F-35's cost and logistics were too much. It would tell other nations viable alternatives exist, potentially unraveling the F-35 global partnership. The story spread like wildfire. Canada, deeply integrated with the US military, was charting its own course. The choice would validate Gripen E's design philosophy. Rapid deployment from austere airfields, lower operational costs. A massive boost for Sweden's defense industry, proving it could beat American giants. A powerful underdog narrative with big geopolitical stakes. But did Canada really sign a deal? Initial reports painted a definitive, game-changing decision. They spoke of a done deal, a contract ready to be signed, a new era for the Royal Canadian Air Force. The narrative fed into debate over the F-35's troubled development and soaring price tag. It seemed to confirm critics. Too expensive, too complex. Canada rejecting it was a verdict on the most expensive weapons program in history. The truth, however, is far more complicated. Despite the explosive headlines, Canada has not definitively chosen the Gripen E. A closer look at the available reporting reveals a very different situation. Instead of a final decision, there is an active, unresolved debate raging within the Canadian government. The statement that Canada has definitively chosen the Swedish fighter is simply false. The reality is that Ottawa is still wrestling with its options, caught between rising costs, industrial promises, military requirements, and intense pressure from its allies. The fighter jet competition is not over. In fact, it has entered a new and even more uncertain phase where everything seems to be on the table. The Canadian government is currently weighing several possibilities. The original plan to purchase a full fleet of 88 F-35s remains an option. However, reporting from as recently as October 2025 shows that Prime Minister Mark Carney's government is seriously considering other paths. One of these is a controversial mixed fleet approach. Under this scenario, Canada would buy a smaller number of F-35s, perhaps as few as 16, and supplement them with a larger fleet of Gripen E fighters. This hybrid solution is being floated as a way to balance military needs with ballooning budgets and domestic industrial benefits, creating a complex political puzzle. This essay will cut through the noise and explain the real story behind Canada's fighter jet saga. We will move beyond the misleading headlines to explore the facts of the debate. Our goal is to explain why this decision is so difficult and what is truly at stake for Canada. We will examine the core options facing the government, the full F-35 purchase, the potential Gripen E alternative, and the politically complex mixed fleet model. We will lay out the arguments for and against each path, providing a clear and simple guide to one of the most important defense decisions in Canadian history, all based on the available reporting. We will break down the key factors driving this debate. First, we will look at the staggering costs of the F-35 program, which have increased by nearly 50% in just a few years. Then, we will detail the powerful industrial offer from Saab, which has promised to build and maintain the Gripen E in Canada, creating Canadian jobs. We will also explore the serious concerns of the Canadian military and the United States, who warn that a mixed fleet could undermine North American defense and create a logistical nightmare. This is the real story. Not a simple choice, but a complex web of trade-offs involving money jobs, national security. Table of contents, Part 2, Act 1. The options and the debate, about 3 sections. Section 1, the status quo, 88 F-35s. Section 2, the Swedish alternative, a full Gripen E fleet. Section 3, the hybrid path, a mixed fleet of F-35s and Gripens. The first and, for a long time, the only official option on the table was the full purchase of 88 Lockheed Martin F-35A Lightning II fighter jets. 88 jets. This was the plan that successive Canadian governments had been working towards for over a decade. The F-35 was selected after a lengthy and often contentious competition. It came with the promise of delivering a fifth-generation capability to keep the RCF on par with allies. Military leadership has been unwavering in its support for this path. Deputy Minister Stephanie Beck, Lieutenant General Jamie Spicer-Blanchet. They stress the urgent need for a fifth-generation platform to counter threats from nations like Russia, China, framing the F-35 as an essential tool for modern warfare. For its proponents, the F-35 represents the pinnacle of air combat technology. It is a stealth aircraft designed to be nearly invisible to enemy radar. That stealth gives it an unparalleled advantage in hostile airspace. Beyond stealth, its real strength lies in advanced sensors and data fusion. Those systems gather vast battlefield information, they process it, and share it with allied forces. That turns the jet into a flying command and control center, enhancing the effectiveness of the entire military network. For the RCAF and its partners in NORAD, NATO, having the same aircraft as the United States and many other allies simplifies joint operations, training, and logistics, ensuring seamless cooperation in any future conflict. However, the path to acquiring 88 F-35s has been anything but smooth. The program has been plagued by delays, and, most significantly, by skyrocketing costs. What was initially estimated at around $19 billion has now ballooned to CAD $27.7 billion. That figure does not include essential expenses like weapons, new infrastructure, or long-term sustainment. This 46% cost increase since 2022, flagged in a 2024 Auditor General report, has put immense pressure on the Canadian government. The ballooning price tag has triggered intense political debate and questions about value for taxpayers. This financial strain is the primary reason the seemingly settled decision is now back in flux. The military's argument for fifth-generation capability is strong, but the economic reality is stark. Committing to the full F-35 purchase ties up a massive portion of the defense budget for decades, potentially at the expense of other vital military needs. This is the core tension: the military's desire for the most advanced technology versus the government's responsibility to manage public finances. It is this tension that has opened the door for other options to be seriously considered, transforming a done deal into an active and high-stakes national debate about Canada's future in the skies. As the F-35's price tag grew, the appeal of its main competitor, the Swedish Gripen E, became much stronger. The second major option facing Canada is to pivot away from the American jet entirely and purchase a full fleet of Gripen Es. This would be a radical departure from the original plan, but it is an alternative that comes with a compelling set of arguments, primarily centered on cost and industrial benefits. The Gripen E is a highly advanced 4.5 generation fighter, known for its sophisticated electronic warfare suite, powerful radar, and ability to carry a wide array of modern weaponry. While it lacks the all-aspect stealth of the F-35, its supporters argue that its performance combined with its significantly lower acquisition and operational costs makes it a smarter choice for a country like Canada. The financial case for the Gripen is powerful. Saab has consistently marketed the jet as a more affordable solution, not just to buy, but to fly and maintain over its entire service life. For a government facing a CAD $27.7 billion bill for F-35s, the prospect of acquiring a capable fleet for a fraction of the cost is incredibly tempting. This isn't just about saving money, it's about reallocating resources. Choosing the Gripen could free up billions of dollars in the defense budget, which could then be used to address other critical gaps in Canada's military, such as modernizing the Navy or Army. This argument resonates strongly with those who believe that overspending on one high-profile project could leave the broader Canadian Armed Forces underfunded and unprepared. Beyond the sticker price, Saab has sweetened the deal with a powerful industrial offer. The Swedish company has proposed to assemble, maintain, and upgrade the entire Gripen E fleet right here in Canada. This would be managed by the Gripen for Canada team, a consortium including prominent Canadian aerospace firms like IMP Aerospace and Defence, CAE, and Arcfield Canada. Saab has also committed to meeting Canada's 100% guaranteed industrial offset requirements, meaning every dollar spent on the jets would be reinvested back into the Canadian economy. This promise of high-tech jobs and domestic industrial growth is a game-changer in the political arena, turning the fighter jet decision into a major economic one as well. Section 3. The Hybrid Path, a mixed fleet of F-35s and Gripens. Caught between the F-35's immense capability and cost and the Gripen's affordability and industrial perks, a third option has emerged: the mixed fleet. Recent reporting has revealed that the Canadian government is actively considering this hybrid approach. The idea, as described in an October 2025 interview with Foreign Minister Mélanie Joly, would involve procuring a much smaller number of F-35s. One speculative proposal suggests just 16 aircraft, and then supplementing them with a larger number of Canadian-assembled Gripen E fighters. On the surface, this solution appears to offer the best of both worlds, a political compromise designed to satisfy everyone from military chiefs to industry advocates. Proponents of the mixed fleet argue that it provides a have your cake and eat it too solution. Canada would acquire a small squadron of F-35s, giving the RCAF access to cutting-edge fifth-generation technology and ensuring a high degree of interoperability with the U.S. for critical missions. This would satisfy the military's core requirement and maintain Canada's standing within the F-35 global partnership. At the same time, the bulk of the fleet would consist of the more affordable Gripen E. This would keep overall program costs down while delivering the industrial benefits and jobs promised by Saab's Canadian assembly offer, a major political win. This approach is being floated as a clever negotiating tactic. By seriously entertaining a Gripen purchase, Prime Minister Mark Carney's government puts pressure on Lockheed Martin. Ottawa could leverage the threat of a mixed fleet to obtain further concessions, potentially securing a better price or more industrial guarantees in exchange for sticking with the full 88-fighter contract. It becomes a high-stakes game of chicken, forcing both manufacturers to put their best offers on the table. However, this hybrid model is fraught with serious complications. The U.S. ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, has warned a mixed fleet would make NORAD interoperability more difficult. Internally, the RSAF cautioned such a fleet would impose severe operational and logistical burdens. Canada would need to establish and run two entirely separate pilot training pipelines, two different sets of simulators, and two distinct maintenance and supply chains. This duplication could be incredibly expensive and inefficient, potentially negating upfront savings and undermining readiness. Table of Contents, Part 3, Act 2. Money Talks, Rising Costs and Budgets. Section 1. The Ballooning Bill. F-35 Costs Soar. Section 2. The Gripen's Value Proposition. Section 3. Budgets, Trade-offs, and Political Pressure. Section 1. The Ballooning Bill. F-35 Costs Soar. The single biggest factor driving the renewed debate over Canada's fighter jet choice is money. More specifically, the staggering and relentless increase in the cost of the F-35 program. When the plan to purchase 88 F-35s was first solidified, the acquisition cost was estimated at around $19 billion. However, that number has not remained static. A 2024 report from Canada's Office of the Auditor General delivered a bombshell, revealing that the total acquisition cost had skyrocketed. It had climbed by a staggering 46% since just 2022, reaching an eye-watering CAD $27.7 billion, over $20 billion USD. This ballooning cost has completely changed the political and economic calculus of the procurement. It has transformed the F-35 from a high-end but manageable purchase into a fiscal behemoth that threatens to consume an ever larger share of the national defense budget. What is even more alarming is what this CAD $27.7 billion figure doesn't include. Weapons packages, construction of new hangars and specialized infrastructure to support the stealth aircraft, extensive training systems needed for pilots and ground crews. The true upfront cost is therefore significantly higher than even the official headline-grabbing number. This dramatic price hike forces the government into a very difficult position. Continuing with the full F-35 purchase as planned means accepting a cost that is nearly 50% higher than what was anticipated just a few years ago. In an era of competing government priorities and public scrutiny over spending, justifying such an enormous expenditure becomes a monumental political challenge. Every extra billion spent on fighter jets is a billion that cannot be spent on healthcare. Every extra billion spent on fighter jets is a billion that cannot be spent on infrastructure. Every extra billion spent on fighter jets is a billion that cannot be spent on other military programs. This financial reality has forced the government's hand, compelling them to look for ways to mitigate the fiscal damage. Gripen E mixed fleet concept. The problem extends far beyond the initial purchase price. The F-35 is notoriously expensive to operate and maintain. Its advanced stealth coatings require specialized facilities and care. Its complex systems demand a sophisticated and costly logistics chain. While detailed lifecycle cost estimates are often subject to debate, the F-35's reputation for high sustainment costs is well established globally. This means that the CAD $27.7 billion is just the down payment. The total cost of ownership over the aircraft's 30 to 40-year service life will be many times that amount, representing a multi-generational financial commitment that will have long-lasting effects on Canada's defense spending and overall federal budget. The sheer scale of this financial obligation is what makes the debate so urgent. Section 2. The Gripen's value proposition. In stark contrast to the F-35's spiraling costs, Saab has built its entire sales pitch for the Gripen E around the concept of value and affordability. The Swedish fighter is presented not just as a capable military asset, but as a fiscally responsible choice. While it may not possess the all-aspect stealth of its American competitor, its proponents argue that it delivers a disproportionately high level of performance for its cost. The Gripen E is designed from the ground up for efficiency, both in terms of its initial acquisition price and, crucially, its long-term operational and sustainment expenses. This focus on lower lifecycle costs is a powerful draw for any government facing the sticker shock of the F-35 program. The Gripen E's design philosophy emphasizes ease of maintenance and rapid turnaround. It is engineered to be operated by smaller ground crews and can be refueled and rearmed in minutes, allowing for a much higher sortie generation rate. Unlike the F-35, it does not require specialized, climate-controlled hangars and can be serviced in more austere conditions, a significant advantage for a country with Canada's vast and often harsh geography. These design features translate directly into lower day-to-day running costs. Fewer maintenance personnel, less complex logistical needs, and lower fuel consumption all add up to substantial savings over the lifetime of the fleet, making the total cost of ownership far more predictable and manageable. This value proposition is the cornerstone of Saab's campaign in Canada. The company is essentially arguing that Canada can acquire a highly modern fighter fleet that meets the vast majority of its defense needs without breaking the bank. By choosing the Gripen, the argument goes, the Canadian government could save billions on the initial purchase and billions more over the subsequent decades of operation. This financial breathing room is presented as a strategic advantage in itself. Those saved funds could be reinvested into other critical areas of the Canadian Armed Forces, such as modernizing the Royal Canadian Navy's aging frigates or upgrading the Army's ground vehicle fleet, leading to a more balanced and capable military overall. The affordability argument is further bolstered by Saab's industrial promises. By offering to assemble the jets in Canada, the company ensures that a significant portion of the acquisition cost flows directly back into the Canadian economy in the form of high-tech jobs and supply chain development. This transforms the purchase from a simple foreign military sale into a domestic economic stimulus project. For politicians, this is an incredibly appealing package. A capable fighter jet that is cheaper to buy and fly, and which also creates Canadian jobs. It is this combination of operational affordability and direct industrial benefit that makes the Gripen E such a compelling alternative and a serious threat to the F-35's dominance in the competition. Section 3. Budgets, trade-offs, and political pressure. The stark difference in cost between the F-35 and the Gripen E forces a difficult conversation about budget trade-offs. The decision is no longer simply about which jet is better in a purely technical sense. It is about what Canada can realistically afford and what priorities it must balance. Committing to the full fleet of 88 F-35s at their current price of CAD $27.7 billion, plus lifetime sustainment costs, would lock in a massive multi-decade expenditure. This would inevitably squeeze other parts of the defense budget. Military planners would have to make tough choices, potentially delaying or canceling other vital projects. New naval vessels, Army modernization programs, simply to pay the bill for the Air Force's new jets. This creates intense internal pressure within the Canadian Armed Forces and the Department of National Defence. While the RCAF leadership is steadfast in its support for the F-35, leaders from the Navy, leaders from the Army, are undoubtedly concerned that the jet's massive cost could cannibalize their own budgets. This is the classic hollow force dilemma, possessing a cutting-edge fighter fleet while the rest of the military withers from a lack of funding. The government must weigh the strategic importance of a fifth-generation Air Force against the need for a well-rounded, fully equipped military capable of meeting a wide range of threats on land, at sea, and in the air. Beyond the military, there is immense political pressure to demonstrate a clear return on investment for Canadian taxpayers. Spending nearly $28 billion on foreign-built military hardware is a tough sell, especially when domestic industries are hungry for work. This is where Saab's offer to build the Gripen E in Canada becomes a powerful political tool. It allows the government to frame the decision not just as a defense procurement, but as a national industrial strategy. The promise of creating and sustaining thousands of high-quality aerospace jobs in Canada, particularly in key political regions, is a benefit that the F-35 program, with its more diffuse global supply chain, struggles to match in the same direct and tangible way. Ultimately, the money conversation forces the government to confront a fundamental question. What is the primary goal of this procurement? Is it to acquire the most technologically advanced fighter jet on the market, regardless of cost, to ensure maximum interoperability with the United States? Or is it to procure a capable and sufficient fighter fleet that meets Canada's sovereign defense needs while also delivering concrete economic benefits and remaining within a sustainable budget? The rising costs of the F-35 have pushed this question to the forefront. The answer will depend on a complex political calculation, balancing the military's operational desires against the nation's economic realities and industrial ambitions. Section 1. The Swedish Industrial Pitch. While the soaring cost of the F-35 opened the door for alternatives, it was Saab's aggressive and highly strategic industrial offer that truly made the Gripen E a contender. The Swedish aerospace giant didn't just propose to sell Canada a fighter jet, it proposed a deep, long-term industrial partnership. The centerpiece is the commitment to assemble, maintain, upgrade the entire Gripen E fleet within Canada. This isn't just a vague promise. Saab has already put together a specific consortium, the Gripen for Canada team, to make it happen. Graphic Gripen for Canada team. Saab with IMP, CAE, Arcfield GE Aviation. IMP Aerospace and Defense, CAE, Arcfield Canada, GE Aviation, lending immediate credibility to the proposal. The pitch is designed to transform procurement from a simple military purchase into a nation-building project. The offer to establish a full production and sustainment hub in Canada ensures Canadian tax dollars support Canadian jobs. By promising to build the jets domestically, Saab offers a tangible benefit that resonates with the public and politicians alike. The vision: Canadian workers in Canadian facilities building and maintaining the aircraft that will defend Canadian skies. That narrative is powerful, especially contrasted with a program where primary manufacturing occurs abroad. A crucial component is Saab's firm commitment to meet Canada's 100% guaranteed industrial offset requirements. The policy, officially the Industrial and Technological Benefits Policy, mandates that for every dollar spent on a major defense contract, $1 of economic activity must be generated in Canada. Saab has not only agreed to this, but made it a cornerstone of their campaign. They argue their in-country assembly and sustainment model is a more direct and transparent way to fulfill ITB obligations compared to the F-35's complex global supply chain, where benefits can be harder to track and quantify. This comprehensive industrial package changes the terms of the debate. It shifts focus from a pure military comparison to a broader evaluation of two economic models. The F-35 offers participation in a global logistics network, with Canadian companies bidding for work on a massive international scale. The Gripen, on the other hand, offers a concentrated, Canada-centric industrial base dedicated to the new fighter fleet. For a government justifying a multi-billion-dollar expenditure, Saab's guaranteed, direct, highly visible industrial return is an attractive proposition that's hard to dismiss. Section 2. The politics of jobs and assembly lines. The promise of domestic assembly and high-tech jobs is where the technical debate over fighter jets intersects with the realities of politics. A Canadian assembly line for the Gripen E isn't just an industrial plan, it's a political masterstroke. Such a facility would create thousands of jobs, well-paying, skilled jobs, not just in final assembly, but also throughout a new domestic supply chain. These jobs would likely be concentrated in specific regions, creating powerful local constituencies with a vested interest in the Gripen's success. For any sitting government, announcing a new aerospace hub is a massive political victory, generating positive headlines and goodwill in key electoral districts. This factor fundamentally alters the political calculation for Prime Minister Mark Carney's government. Choosing the F-35 means defending a decision based on complex arguments about fifth-generation capabilities and alliance interoperability. Choosing the Gripen, or a mixed fleet including it, allows the government to point to concrete, tangible benefits, new factories, new jobs, and direct investment in Canadian communities. As Foreign Minister Melanie Joly highlighted in an interview, the fact that Saab has offered to assemble the Gripens in Canada adds significant industrial value. This is political shorthand for an outcome that is easy for voters to understand and appreciate: a clear return on their tax dollars. Furthermore, the promise of a sovereign production and maintenance capability has strategic appeal beyond just jobs. Having the ability to maintain and upgrade its own fighter fleet within its borders gives Canada greater control over its defense assets. It reduces reliance on foreign supply chains and political goodwill, a lesson many nations have learned in an increasingly unstable world. This argument for sovereign control resonates with a strain of Canadian political thought that prioritizes independence and self-sufficiency. A Canadian-built and maintained fleet is seen as a way to bolster national pride and ensure the Royal Canadian Air Force can act without external constraints, adding another layer to the Gripen's appeal. The political power of this industrial offer puts immense pressure on Lockheed Martin and the proponents of the F-35. While the F-35 program does provide significant work for over 100 Canadian companies, these benefits are distributed across a global enterprise. It is a much more complex and less visible story to tell than the straightforward promise of a new final assembly line in Montreal or Halifax. Saab's offer forces the F-35 camp to counter not just on technical merit, but on the political ground of jobs and regional economic impact, a much more difficult battle to win in the court of public opinion. While the industrial benefits proposed by Saab are undeniably attractive, they must be weighed against the technical and operational questions that a non-American fighter introduces. Voiced repeatedly by Canadian military leadership and by U.S. officials, the primary concern is interoperability. North American air defense is built on the seamless integration of Canadian and American forces through NORAD. The F-35 was designed from the ground up to be the backbone of this integrated network, sharing data effortlessly with U.S. assets. Diagram: a diagram showing a complex network of F-35s seamlessly sharing data, with a separate Gripen E trying to connect to the network through a less direct link. A Gripen fleet, even a NATO-compatible one, would not have this same native level of integration, potentially creating communication gaps or, seams in the defense shield that adversaries could exploit. This introduces a significant element of risk. The gains in domestic jobs and industrial sovereignty must be balanced against the potential loss of operational synergy with Canada's most critical ally. U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra's warning against a mixed fleet was not just a diplomatic suggestion, it was a clear signal that a Gripen purchase could complicate the decades-old defense relationship. Military planners must consider whether the challenges of integrating a European jet into a North American command and control structure are worth the economic benefits. The RCAF has already cautioned that this would impose severe burdens, suggesting the operational cost could be very high. Furthermore, there is the question of long-term viability and development. The F-35 is backed by the colossal budget of the U.S. Department of Defense and a consortium of powerful allies. This ensures a continuous path of upgrades and technological evolution for decades to come. By plugging into this ecosystem, Canada guarantees its fighter fleet will remain at the cutting edge. Opting for the Gripen means tying its fortunes to a smaller program with fewer international partners. While Saab is a highly capable company, there is an inherent risk that the Gripen E's development path may not keep pace with the F-35s, potentially leaving Canada with a less advanced fighter in the later years of its service life. Ultimately, the decision comes down to a fundamental trade-off. Saab's offer presents a clear, immediate, and politically popular benefit in the form of jobs, domestic investment, and sovereign control. However, these gains come with potential long-term risks to military interoperability, alliance cohesion, and future technological relevance. The government is forced to act as a broker, balancing the compelling industrial arguments that resonate with the public against the more abstract but critically important operational warnings coming from the military and its closest ally. There is no easy answer, and this difficult balance is precisely why the debate continues to rage. While politicians and industry leaders debate costs, job creation, the perspective from within the Royal Canadian Air Force is remarkably clear and consistent. They want the F-35. For the military leadership, the choice is not about economics or industrial strategy, but about pure operational capability and future-proofing Canada's air defense. High-ranking officials like Deputy Minister Stephanie Beck have been unequivocal in their public statements. During a recent parliamentary committee appearance, she stated the organization was full steam ahead in preparing for the F-35's arrival, focusing on the necessary infrastructure, pilot training, and logistics. This sentiment reflects a deep-seated belief within the military that only a fifth-generation aircraft can meet the challenges of the modern battlespace. The core of the RCAF's argument rests on the evolving nature of global threats. Both Deputy Minister Beck and RCAF Commander Lieutenant General Jamie Spicer-Blanchet have emphasized that potential adversaries, specifically naming China and Russia, are rapidly developing and deploying their own fifth-generation fighters and advanced air defense systems. In this new reality, they argue, the stealth capabilities of a 4.5-generation jet like the Gripen E are simply not sufficient. The F-35's ability to penetrate contested airspace undetected is seen as a non-negotiable requirement for pilot survivability and mission success. As Beck bluntly put it, the importance cannot be overstated of having a fifth-generation aircraft because that's what our adversaries have. Beyond its stealth characteristics, the F-35's unparalleled sensor fusion and networking capabilities are central to the RCAF's preference. The jet is designed to act as a quarterback in the sky, collecting vast amounts of data from its surroundings, processing it, and distributing a clear picture of the battlefield to other friendly forces on the ground, at sea, and in the air. This level of situational awareness is considered a revolutionary leap in air combat. For the RCF, acquiring the F-35 is not just about replacing an old jet. It is about plugging into a new, data-driven way of warfare that enhances the effectiveness of the entire Canadian Armed Forces and its allies. This strong preference from the military leadership creates a direct conflict with the political appeal of the Gripen and the mixed fleet option. The men and women who will actually have to fly and maintain these jets are prioritizing technological superiority and interoperability above all else. They have cautioned that the operational burdens of a mixed fleet, running 2 separate training pipelines, supply chains, and maintenance depots, would be a logistical nightmare. This would create inefficiencies that could ultimately undermine readiness and combat effectiveness. Their message is clear. For the sake of military capability, a single unified fleet of the most advanced aircraft available is the only sensible path forward. The debate over Canada's fighter jet choice extends far beyond its own borders, directly impacting its most critical defense alliance. The United States has not been a silent observer in this process. U.S. officials have made their preference for the F-35 clear, framing it as a matter of continental security. The cornerstone of North American air defense is NORAD, a unique binational command structure that requires the seamless integration of Canadian and American air forces. For decades, this partnership has relied on both nations flying similar, highly interoperable aircraft. The F-35 is the designated future of the U.S. Air Force's fighter fleet, and Washington views Canada's adoption of the same jet as essential for maintaining that seamless integration. This concern has been voiced publicly. The U.S. Ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, has explicitly pushed back against the idea of a mixed RCAF fighter fleet. He warned that if Ottawa were to purchase a European combat jet like the Gripen, it would inevitably make interoperability within NORAD more difficult. While the Gripen is compatible with NATO standards, it was not designed from the ground up to integrate with the F-35's highly secure and complex data-sharing networks. This could create a 2-tier system within NORAD. F-35s operate in one data ecosystem, Gripens operate in another, potentially creating dangerous communication seams that an adversary could exploit during a crisis. The practical burdens of integrating a second fleet type are a major source of U.S. concern. The RCAF has already warned internally about the immense logistical challenges. A mixed fleet would require 2 distinct pilot training pipelines, meaning Canadian pilots couldn't easily switch between aircraft. It would necessitate separate simulators, double the maintenance infrastructure, and 2 completely different supply and logistics chains for spare parts. This duplication would be incredibly costly in the long run, potentially wiping out any initial savings from the Gripen purchase. It would also introduce layers of complexity that could slow down reaction times and reduce overall fleet readiness. These warnings from the US and from within Canada's own military establishment place significant pressure on the Canadian government. Choosing the Gripen E, either as a full fleet or as part of a mixed one, would be seen as a move that prioritizes domestic industrial benefits over the cohesion of the NORAD alliance. It would force Canada to invest heavily in bridging the technological gap between the Gripen and the F-35 network, an expensive and potentially imperfect solution. This alliance factor is a powerful counterweight to Saab's attractive industrial offer, forcing Ottawa to consider the serious geopolitical and operational consequences of diverging from its closest military partner. In the final analysis, despite the sensational headlines and swirling rumors, one fact remains clear. Canada has not definitively chosen the Saab Gripen E. The nation's fighter jet saga is far from over. A complex and ongoing debate, a high-stakes balancing act for Canada's air power. Ottawa is caught in competing priorities, forced to weigh the immense financial burden of the F-35 against the industrial promises of the Gripen. Not a simple choice between 2 jets, but a navigation through intricate trade-offs: money, jobs, military readiness, and NORAD interoperability. The controversy was ignited by the F-35's staggering cost, nearly CAD 28 billion before weapons or infrastructure. Alternatives became necessary to consider. Saab seized the opening with a value proposition: a capable, more affordable fighter, a Canadian assembly line, thousands of jobs, a guaranteed 100% industrial return. That domestic stimulus is politically potent. It resonates more than abstract 5th-generation warfare. But military leaders and U.S. officials warn, Only the F-35's fifth-generation stealth and data fusion capabilities can meet future threats and protect pilots. They caution that a Gripen fleet, either as a full fleet or as part of a hybrid model, would create logistics headaches and harm interoperability with NORAD. Canada stands at a crossroads: economic and political benefits of a Swedish-Canadian partnership versus operational cohesion with North America. The responsible path is transparent, rigorous analysis, fully costed options, realistic evaluation of industrial promises, honest appraisal of long-term strategic risks. The final verdict is not written. The government must weigh costs versus capabilities, jobs versus interoperability, and decide what it values most for national defense. The facts, not the furor, must guide the way.